What is up, everybody? It's me, Crashy, and welcome to another Overwatch discussion video. Today is going to be something a little bit different, not just about the game, but more about the competitive side of things and just the game in general. And this is all, I wanted to put this disclaimer out there, I'm glad I remembered. This is all from my perspective as I see it now. So I could be wrong about a couple things, but I'm pretty analytical, I think. So I think I'm fairly close to right, and feel free to correct me or leave your thoughts in the comments or whatever. But let's go ahead and talk about this. So you can see the title. This is basically going to be talking about team compositions, how to build a proper team composition on Overwatch, and team roles. So if you're actually playing in a competitive team or in a team, then you can, you can talk about the roles that you might want to recruit or the roles that you might want to fill to be the most successful. So if you're watching the gameplay now, it's actually just a game from my stream. I went on and cut the audio, but I had a pretty solid game as Genji. I was just really all over the place. I was practicing a lot of Genji on stream today. And if you haven't checked it out, please look in the description below and check out my stream. Make sure you follow my Twitter and everything like that. So I really appreciate it. Anyways, so team composition. What is a good team composition? I'll tell you what, it's not whatever you're seeing in public games, because public game compositions are garbage. First off, I want to talk about what a really base, and I say base as in like something you could see almost any team run at any given time that would be semi-successful. I mean, it might not be the best for that point, it might not be the best for countering whatever the other enemy team is doing, but it will do pretty decent in terms of team composition. And that's going to be 2 tanks, 2 DPS, and 2 healers. Now, I don't know how this is going to, take for all the people that watch this video, but it may be surprising that yes, 90, I'll say 90% of the time, you have to have 2 healers. Now, there are some choke points, some certain positions, or maybe even strategies that a team might do where they run 1 healer, and that's usually a Mercy. I would say it seems like Lucio's the strongest healer, but in certain situations, the res is just too good not to have. The damage boost too good not to have. So, most of the time, though, you're going to see Mercy Lucio. On some first point defense, you might actually see Symmetra Mercy, because Symmetra is basically a first point defense snowball character. You're pretty much never going to see her outside of that. You're never going to see her on King of the Hill. You're never going to see her on attack at real level of play or high level of play in Overwatch. So it's kind of the same as Bastion, or not Bastion, sorry, Torbjorn. You're never really going to see him outside the defensive side. I mean, he may be run on like mid section or third section defense, but probably always run on first section defense. Same as Symmetra. So again, since we're already talking about team composition, we're talking about base. That's going to be 2 healers is where we're starting off. So Mercy Lucio, 90% of the time. Especially, I'm going to be talking with the majority of this video with 1 hero limit in mind, because that's the majority of what the competitive scene's running right now. So again, keep in mind that you could do things like double Lucio, but I'm mostly just talking about my particular scenario at the time being. So Mercy Lucio. The other thing that you're going to see is 2 DPS. Now, currently in the meta, and I've talked about this before, McCree is just too good. You're probably always going to see a McCree. There should be 1 DPS player that is pretty much always on offense. That's like a given no matter what. Even though he's a DPS, he can play offense, he can play defense, he can play anything that's damage related. You're pretty much going to always see 1 DPS constantly playing offense. So that's going to be McCree. Pretty much every single time. You may see some Soldier 76, you may see some Pharah play, but pretty much always McCree. So really 1 offense player. Now the other offense player is kind of like your secondary offense player, even though you don't really call it that. Y'all are just both DPS in most team comps or competitive settings. And this person's going to be more of the flexible offense player. Now he's not the flex, there's a difference. So the flexible offense player is going to play much more wider variations of things. He's going to play Widowmaker. He's going to play Soldier 76. He's going to play Reaper. He's going to play the things that the non-McCree player is playing pretty much. So in simple terms, just think of it as 2 DPS players, but one of them tends to switch a little bit more. You want your McCree player pretty much playing McCree. Again, this is talking about 1 hero limit, so in another world you may see 2 McCrees, but for now we're just talking about 1. Alright, tanks. Now this is where the compositions can get a little different. This is where you're not always going to run into like, I don't know, the stable compositions, I guess, or compositions that you'll see change. Tank players, there's pretty much always a main tank. That person is going to play Winston or Reinhardt only. He doesn't play any other tanks, more or less. He's going to play Winston and Reinhardt. Reason being, they're the best two main tanks. You pretty much always want a Winston or a Reinhardt. Now, the off tank is an off tank flex player. This player, because you don't always need two tanks, or you might not always want to run two tanks, is DPS, and he's a tank. So you're going to be running Roadhog. You're going to be running Winston. You're going to be running Zarya. You're going to be running all of the tanks, except for Reinhardt probably, because you probably won't ever have your secondary tank on Reinhardt. If you're going to have a Reinhardt, your main tank will play it. So all the tanks but Reinhardt, and pretty much any DPS. It is important that this person can also play Widowmaker in the current meta. This person needs to be able to pretty much play just about anything. Now, he's not going to play supports because you already have your two supports that are dedicated to Lucio Mercy. You may do this, but not in the current meta where you might run 3 supports, where you have like the 2 staple supports and a Symmetra. I don't know. That might happen, but for now, pretty much DPS and tank. So we've covered the 2 supports, we've covered the 2 DPS, one that switches more than the other, and we've covered the 2 tanks. Now, I think it's personally, from my perspective, I think it's personally smart to have 2 flex players that are kind of like the off tank. So that way, there's a chance that your team is just more flexible. The more flexible your team is, the less swaps you have to do, and the less swaps you have to do, the less you're wasting your percentage and such. So let's talk about a few base compositions that you might see. I'm even going to talk about some that utilize that flex position. So base compositions you're going to see a lot. Let's say Reinhardt, Zarya, Mercy, Lucio, McCree, and pretty much any other DPS. I'm going to do it like that with the off DPS because it really just depends on the section of the map. If you want to run Junkrat, if you want to run Pharah, if you want to run Widowmaker, different kinds of stuff like that. So, second DPS. Another one you might see, Reinhardt, Roadhog, Mercy, Lucio, McCree, any other DPS. Let's try one with the flex position changed. You're going to go Reinhardt. You're going to go Widowmaker on flex. You're going to go Junkrat. You're going to go McCree. So you get that extra DPS. And that's, if you have 2 flex players, it's up to you who plays what. Maybe you do really want that one DPS person to be the Widow always, but I think it's smart to have more than one Widowmaker player. Let's say Reinhardt, Winston, Genji, McCree, Widowmaker, and then the 2 supports. So there's lots of possibilities, but I think it's really smart to make sure that you have at least one person who can definitely play Widowmaker, and that person pretty much always needs to be a DPS player, and maybe have your flex practice Widowmaker as well. Maybe recruit 2 flex players. Not that the second flex player will even touch the tanks, but that they have more options available to you. So guys, I think that's more or less what I wanted to cover today. I think it's really important that people learn the kind of the upper level thoughts. And there's still stuff to be discovered. Again, this whole discussion is with one hero limited in mind, so it's really hard for me to tell you all the possibilities out there. They're everywhere. I mean, you see double tracers, you see double Lucio, so there's lots of possibilities in pub matches, but I think it's important to know that double healer is real. I think it's important to understand what a flex position really is, understand what the flex position means, because the flex position is very, very important. I mean, you need a good Lucio player. You need a good Mercy player on your team to kind of be successful. Especially, I mean, like even in pubs, like if you run double healer, it's pretty strong. I mean, it's just one of those things that's really hard to deal with. So, let me think. I mean, there's so much in this game that I feel like hasn't been tapped yet. I mean, it just depends on what the competitive settings are going to be. We've seen some people run, Genji in certain scenarios where Genji's not really played super high right now. I mean, it really just depends, like I said, on the settings, but like even Genji, you see, Genji Winston is really, really like strong and aggressive. You see, Soldier 76 picked on certain scenarios where, you need kind of that hit scan to deal with Pharah, and there's always counter picks. So it's all counterpicking, how the team wants to play. I think a lot about how this game is going to work in team play is going to be style. I mean, how does that team want to play? How, what is your style? What do y'all, do y'all have a really good Widow? Maybe you don't have a good Widow. Maybe you want more of a ground engaged team. And we do see that currently in scrims and in some of the competitive scenes. Not always will there be a Widow, even though Widow is super, super strong in current meta. You might see a team run a lot of ground characters. Maybe you'll run Genji Tracer and then, 2 tanks, or a solo tank with 3 DPS who are all ground-based, McCree, Genji, Tracer, and really just hard initiate and try to pick off 1 or 2 targets. When you start picking off the Mercies, that's when the fights start falling apart, because there's no Mercy res, there's no concurrent healing or consistent healing, and it all goes downhill from there. So guys, I think there's about a minute left on this gameplay, a minute and a half. Actually, it looks like it's starting to wrap up. And I hope you appreciate and, learn something from the discussion. Please leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Please do not leave the video without leaving a like. It would help me out a lot. I am streaming daily. I'm scrimming as much as I can, and I'm going to be posting videos daily. So thanks again for watching. If you have a topic you'd like me to talk about, please let me know. This has just been kind of a little bit of an insight into compositions on Overwatch, the different things that you really should be looking for if starting a competitive team, and maybe the way to build out a roster. So thank you guys so much again, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.